Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
Okay, enough. Enough. Let's pull all the federal agents from Portland and elsewhere. Let's let the mobs take over, burning, destroying, and looting, and soon, very soon, the anarchists will meet their fate by good citizens taking back their towns. It won't be pretty. Goodbye, mayors. Here comes Kate Smith and God Bless America, followed by a Patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance on a Wednesday, July 29th. Good morning. And a good morning to you and yours out there in Radio Land. I'm Zeb Bell, Zeb at the Ranch, with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you in a very safe, clean environment, and the best in tires. And also our big thank yous go to Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Right now, let's go to the phone line and have our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning.
Good morning. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to this republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I might add that I know somebody on the other end of this microphone that's celebrating a birthday today, celebrating 49 years, and a little memorandum that next year at 50, everything's down the ladder, buddy.
I've seen it before.
Okay, happy birthday. Oh, good morning, everybody. And right now, let's take a look at the weather forecast, brought to you by K&R Rental at 256 South, 600 West of Heyburn. And honestly, you need to get a hold of these people, because if you've got a task that you need to finish and you don't know, what do I need? Well, they've got all the tools and equipment, and they're available in both long and short-term rental. All you got to do is either stop in on the Burley-Paul Highway or give them a call, Roger and the crew, at 678-3122. K&R Rental, serving you. Right now, here's Gina with the weather. And right now, here's Gina with the weather. And for some reason, we don't have the weather. Sean, what do you...
Temperatures, and for this weekend, we are going to be in a heat advisory. Here's a look at your weather forecast. We are expecting mostly sunny skies for today, high of 91 with an overnight low of 59. By tomorrow, expecting a high of 96 under sunny skies with an overnight low of 60 by Friday. We are expecting a high of 98. We're going to be in a heat advisory for that day with an overnight low of 60. Then by Saturday, looks like sunny skies and a high of 96. Pretty much the same for Sunday. That's a look at your weather for Zeb.
Thank you very much, Gina. And the weather, of course, brought to you by K&R Rental at 256 South, 600 West of Heyburn. And it's really true. They get there early in the morning to better serve you on the Burley-Paul Highway. K&R Rental, Roger and the crew. 7 a.m. they turn the lock on the door, and they are there to help you with all the tools you need. 678-3122, the number, K&R Rental. Caller, I'm going to ask your patience. Sit there, have a sip of coffee or whatever, and I'll be right with you. I want to remind everybody about Daryl's Cleaners at 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. I forgot to take that bag of Rumply Crumplies in there this last week, and I've got to get in there. I've got a lot of shirts in there, Wranglers, etc. They do the best job of keeping your clothes and you looking really, really sharp. Absolutely. Darrow's Cleaners. The best in dry cleaning and the best in taking care of you. If you haven't had time to wash your clothes, they can take care of the washing, drying, folding, etc. They serve you. Absolutely. Darrow's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. And a quick note, too, about our friends over to Ramsey Heating and Electric. You know, it's very, very prestigious to think of them being almost 7 decades in service to you with the best of heating, cooling, and electrical needs. Where are they located? Thought you'd never ask. They're at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley, and they open the doors at 7:30 to 5 Monday through Friday. Number to call, and they can help you on the phone and have a lot of your stuff waiting for you right there on the counter, 678-0459. Ramsey Heating and Electric, where they provide warm winters and cool summers. Caller, thank you for your patience. Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. Thinking of cool, you're the coolest guy I know.
Why?
Well, you just are. You don't get excited when it's, when you got to be calm. And so that's what I wanted to say this morning about William Barr. He is the best Attorney General that we've had in a long, long time.
Oh, I could not agree more. That man, and that was my highlight story for this morning, to which I'm going to get into quite extensively. That man bore the brunt of nothing more than idiocy that was thrown at him yesterday by the Democrats. It was a disgusting, absolutely disgusting display of people trying to just show their power and show any lack of respect or pride for their job, because they went after Barr. They never let him answer questions. It was ridiculous. It was a complete waste of time.
It was. And he told, I think it was a lady, well, we'll call her a lady anyway,
Yeah.
that he was not a politician. He was a lawyer.
Right.
He did not make the laws. And that really sent her back on her heels, I thought.
You know, there was the congresswoman from Washington, and I can't remember her name, Avapai or Avapal or something like that. I'm not even going to give her the credibility of announcing or pronouncing her name correctly. She was so rude, and every question she asked him, when he gave one or two words in an answer, she interrupted him and said, "I'm reclaiming my time. I've had enough of you. I'm losing my temper." She was a complete imbecile yesterday.
Yes, and I noticed most of them, especially women, were saying, just answer the question, yes or no.
Oh, I know it. Oh, it was, honestly, it was
very, very calmly.
Yeah. Bill Barr really chalked up some points, I think, with the American public yesterday, and anybody that has eyes to see, ears to hear, can understand the validity of what I say. The Democrats are nothing more than a bunch of spoiled brats that want their way.
Well, I hope I haven't spoiled your thunder.
Not at all, my friend. I appreciate your call. God bless you. I got another call waiting. Thanks, Keith.
Bye-bye.
All right, sir. Hey, caller, I'm going to ask you the same thing. Patience, patience, patience. I'll be right there. I want to remind everybody about Dino Septic Service. Oh, yeah. You know, they've got all kinds of new equipment like that camera. They can drop down into the tubing and everything and find out what the problem is. Brrr, down it goes, and it sends you a message back saying, "I found it." All of this equipment and more for the best of treatment to use. Septic tank pumping, liquid waste removal, sewer and sink drain lines cleaned, water and sewer sewer lines installed. Best tobacco services. That's Dino Septic Service. Yep, they're there to serve you. Give them a call, 436-6526 or 678-1638. I mean, the best of fast, fair, friendly service, Dino's Septic Service. By the by, let's take a look real quick as to what's happening at the Minidoka County Fair for today and tonight. Okay, I got to get my list right here. And All-American Flair at the Minidoka County Fair. Let's take a look here real quick. Tonight, the Dutch Oven Cobbler and Ice Cream Social at 7:30 tonight. You don't want to miss that. Wow. And then also the Junior Rodeo starts tonight at the Minidoka County Fair. The best of food, the best of exhibits, the nicest of people at the Minidoka County Fair and Rodeo. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Deb. Today at the Barr Senior Center, we're having chicken wings with lots of meat on them and steak fries and all of the trimmings. And come one, come all, it's only $5.
It's only $5, and if they want to order and take out to their office or their home, what's the number to call over there, Joe?
Just call in to the seniors, 208-678. Let's see, I guess it's 86. Oh, I forgot the number.
I think it's 8646, isn't it?
Well, we'll have the number tomorrow.
Okay. Attaboy, Joe. Take care of yourself. Joe Taylor talking about the Senior Center on Overland. Thank you. Great food over there for everybody. Thank you very, very much. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Good morning.
Yes.
I called yesterday to announce that I was going to be at the Minidoka County Fair for people who wanted to sign the recall Brad Little petition. I had a great couple of days. I have 40 signatures. And I wanted to remind people of a couple of the things that Governor Little did. On March 25th, he declared an extreme state of emergency, and the Idaho code that he used, 46-601, is the martial law code.
Okay, ma'am, I'm going to interrupt you right here. Ma'am, just a minute. I'm going to interrupt you. Please listen to me. I am not going to turn my radio show into a negativity against our governor. If you want to have petitions signed, that's all well and good. I told you yesterday on the air that I would tell you and the audience when the governor would be on so you can address him personally. It will be next Tuesday at 9:30. I am not going to turn this program into an open forum for people like you to voice their displeasure with the governor and state this chapter and verse. I'm not going to do that. So you have made your case yesterday that you've got a petition to be signed. Fine and good. But now you call in next Tuesday and address the governor directly, and don't use me as a middle sounding board, because I'm not going to turn this show into an anti-anybody, okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
I apologize. I have one more thing that I wanted to say.
Well, what is it quickly?
I had waited 7 years for somebody to do something, and nobody was doing anything, so I decided to start a militia. So we have a Skagit County militia that is up and running. We're affiliated with the National Lightfoot Militia. Mm-hmm. And if people would like to join, they can get on Facebook, Skagit County Militia. And our meetings are every third Saturday, and it's announced on the Facebook page.
All right.
And I apologize.
No, you don't owe me an apology at all. That's fine. Thank you. I appreciate your call. Thank you very, very much. Calls are welcome, 436-22-441, 866-927-4587. Caller, I'll be right there. I want to remind everybody that our dear friends at Magic Valley Carpet at 613 D Street in Rupert, they're just off the square. They've got all of your flooring needs, carpet, hardwood, vinyl, laminates, tile, everything you need for the beautification of your home. Installation is guaranteed, and they've got over 36 years of experience serving you. Wishing you to come on over to the Minidoka County Fair and Rodeo, Magic Valley Carpet. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Talk to me, caller.
Hello.
Yes, go ahead, please.
I heard a gal on Rush Limbaugh the other day, and she described the Democrats yesterday in that hearing. She called them the Scarecrow Democrats. And it's if I only had a brain.
Yeah, you're not kidding. First of all, let me correct you on something, and I'm not aiming at you for correction. I'm aiming at the entirety of the title of what took place yesterday. It was not a hearing. It was a diatribe.
It was. It was such a sham show. Nadler, I don't know how that man even passed the bar. Somebody was talking about him here a while back, and he said it took him 10 times to pass the test. I mean, that man, he has no business being in government, writing law, and holding people accountable for things they do, because he has no idea. The man calls Antifa, what's going on in Portland, a myth.
Yeah.
Just spread in Washington, D.C.
I never had respect for Jerry Nadler or any of the Democrats, but today even less than could be possibly conjured up. The man he's suffering from SM, you know what that is, small man's disease. And he is absolutely a bully. And when I listen to Hakeem Jeffries of New York telling Attorney General Barr that he has denigrated his office. And then he went on to say that Trump was entirely to blame for this coronavirus. I mean, this was nothing more than childish politics and ranting by the Democrats. And honestly, they should have done, I'm going to throw this at you and see if you agree. They should have done like Major League Baseball is doing. They should have just put a cardboard cutout of Attorney General Barr in the seat. It would have been as effective as trying to get answers.
Exactly, because they would not let him answer.
Right.
They were afraid of his answers because they knew that they were being broadcast on mainstream media, which is not mainstream at all. It is far, far left. They knew his answers would have been broadcast on there, and how would they explain that to their constituents, the brainwashed people that buy into this BS that's going on?
Did you hear, and I dare somebody to tell me I'm wrong on this, because I listened to that thing in its entirety, and I wanted to throw Tony Lama Boots through the screen. I want you to tell me if I missed something. Did you hear one of those demented Democrats admit or make a statement to the chaos and the mobs destroying our cities? Did you hear any of the Democrats say that?
No. Nope, not one. Because what the Antifa and those Black Lives Matter are doing, they're doing what the KKK did back in the 40s and 50s.
Yes.
That's exactly what's going on.
And this
being supported by Soros and the Democrat Party, so they're not going to put them down.
Yeah, and the favorite phrase, and I've got another caller waiting, standby caller, but the favorite phrase of the day was, and I'm going to buy you lunch if you can come up with this phrase. Go ahead, Dougie.
I'll have to buy you lunch, I guess.
Reclaiming my time. I'm reclaiming my time. I'm reclaiming my time. They all shouted that. The minute Attorney General Barr made a 1 or 2 word statement before he could finish, they looked at him and they said, I'm reclaiming my time. I'm reclaiming my time. And that one worthless black woman from Washington, a congresswoman, said, I'm losing my temper with you. He never had a chance to answer anything.
I know it. Do you think that was staged? Do you think that's their plan going into it to keep him from answering? answering, reclaiming my time?
It was for two reasons. It was so that he wouldn't answer any questions, and these Democrats, these demented Democrats, are using their sound bites for possible re-election campaigns. We showed Attorney General Barr. We showed him up.
Yeah. Yeah, anybody that can chew gum and walk at the same time
is not
see right through what they're doing.
It was absolutely pathetic. Doug, I've got a man waiting on the other line. I've got to get to it. Thank you.
There's one more statement, and then I've got to talk about seniors for just a second.
All right, real quick.
You know, where they're saying masks, we need to wear masks because they work.
Yeah.
Why are they turning prisoners out of prison because of COVID? Why don't they issue them masks?
Yeah, really. You're not. I've got a litany of things I want to talk about that, and we're going to have a couple of guests. I've got 3 doctors on this morning, as a matter of fact. So we're going to be talking about that later. Real quick, Doug, go.
Okay, everybody, let's do what we can for our senior centers. Go say hi to Joe and write a note and give him the phone number to the senior center. Just teasing, Joe.
Very good. Thank you very much. Caller number 2, I'm going to be right there, I promise. I want to remind everybody on Mondays at 8:30 we give away a dozen cookies, and that's from Sophie's Chatterbox at 530 East Street in Rupert. Don't forget, boy, they've got a great bakery and a phenomenal restaurant. Cookies, pies, desserts, all the breads, all the wedding cakes, all the cakes. Oh, my goodness, it's delicious. From Sophie's Chatterbox, 530 East Street in Rupert. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning, Zeb.
Hello, Tony.
Concerns that's going on about the tactics being used against our police department. I am suspicious that many of these people with Antifa are graduates of these terrorist training camps we have, and that's why we can't contain what's going on.
I cannot dispute that. Of course, I'm not going to say that I can give verifiable fact to what you just said. It's an opinion, and your opinion, I think I give a lot of support and credence to, but I honestly feel, and tell me, Tony, I know you're not going to probably agree with this, but I honestly feel that we need to just absolutely stop all the support. I mean, let the mobs and the vermin, and they are, burn and loot everything. And pretty quick, I think the good people, we the people of the United States of America, are going to stand up, and these mobs are going to say, holy cow, where did all these people come from? And I think it's going to happen. I just think, honestly, we're going to let this thing go to the point where Portland is completely in a raised situation. We're going to be talking about Seattle, Chicago, New York, Austin, Texas, Albuquerque, New Mexico, and pretty quick the good people are going to have enough. And I'll guarantee you, I think that these mobsters, these vermin, will be run out of town.
Well, the problem is, how long is this going to take?
I don't know.
Irreparable damage is done to this country.
No, your point is so well taken. I mean, my attitude, and I don't care about expressing it, my attitude is to go in with a very heavy hand and bloody some noses. Now, oh my, that's going to offend some people on the left. Oh, you're talking violence. You're damn right I am. I am sick and tired of seeing this garbage go on, and I think you are too.
These aren't people. These are animals.
Yep.
And when you have wild animals, there's only one way to handle them. And I think you know what I'm talking about.
Well, there's got to be force. And this sitting down singing Kumbaya, holding hands and asking somebody to pass you another chocolate s'more is not working.
Well, be at the park in Twin Falls on a Saturday.
I'm certainly going to try to be there if I'm not in Nampa. Thank you, Tony. God bless you and Mary. Thank you so much.
Okay, you're welcome.
All right, buddy. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I had a nice talk with Leland Snyder yesterday at Snyder's Surplus, 116 South, 200 west of Rupert, and he says, hey, man, we got to be cool. We got to be cool. I says, what do you mean? He says, well, we've got the ability to make people cool. We've got the porta-cools that are swamp coolers on wheels. Woo! look out, they're going to cool you off. They've got all the big shop fans, so don't be sweaty and hot and sticky and feeling uncomfortable. Go to Snyder's Surplus. They've got all the items to help you be cool. You can be like John Wayne. You can be like Michael Jordan. You can be like Leroy Brown and Crocodile Dundee. You can be cool with the Porta-Cools Swamp Coolers on wheels from Snyder's Surplus. You stop over, see them today. All right, calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I've never, in all my 72 years, and I don't give a rip who knows how old I am, I'm an old man, I never saw anything more disgusting on television ever. I don't recall the GOP and Republicans ever treating Eric Holder or any other members of the Obama administration with that much total disrespect and disdain. It was absolutely nothing but worthless bullies. The Democrats, worthless bullies, and it was totally rude yesterday at that so-called hearing. Caller, good morning, you're on the air.
Well, for the Democrats and the liberal media, it's their way or the highway. And this idea that you're going to compromise with these people, it just doesn't happen.
No.
You know, they're not going to compromise. We can, you know, on our side, we feel want to play fair, want to, you know, make sure that everything is discussed and come up with a conclusion. Their conclusion's already been made, and then they manipulate and propagandize until they get what they want. You know, gradually they get, you give up here, you give up there, and that's what the Republicans, conservatives have been doing for decades.
I can't argue with that. We have capitulated, and you made a good point right there I want to elaborate on. I also hold the feet to the fire of the Republicans. What a complete milquetoast, spineless, organized group of GOP members that won't say anything, stand up for anything, with the exception of a few, Jim Jordan being one of them. I am absolutely appalled. By the way, Adrian, have you heard anything from Mike Simpson? Have you heard anything from Mike Crapo? Have you heard anything from Jim Risch? Please tell me, Adrian.
Well, I just called both senators' offices yesterday and reamed them really good for, you know, being silent on all of this stuff that's going on.
Yeah.
I said, we need some pushback. We're expecting some pushback, and you guys are doing nothing. I wasn't real nice about it. Of course, I didn't talk to the senators. I talked to their staff person, but, you know, it was just, you know, they aren't doing anything. And look at this situation. I mean, it just frustrates me.
I would have liked to have picked up the paper this morning, and I think you'll agree with me. I would have liked to have picked up the paper this morning and saw a headline where Risch, Crapo, Simpson, Fulcher, they were outraged as to the treatment of Attorney General Barr at a so-called hearing yesterday. But wait a minute, all I hear is crickets.
No, we never heard a thing, and we should have a pushback, too, on the fact that, you know, I also pointed out that, you know, this censorship on with the conservatives trying to get the message out, and that was really brought forth yesterday when those doctors have documented the benefit of hydroxychloroquine, and it just got the silence treatment. They cut them off. They cut off Trump Jr. and the lawyer for it just goes on and on. I mean, the censorship about hydroxychloroquine, some of these people should be held for murder because they're withholding treatment that is working, and this is the kind of stuff we need our elected people to come out.
Absolutely, I agree with you. I've got other other calls, Adrian. I've got to get them on.
It's dangerous, but it's not dangerous. It works.
Absolutely,
he's just a liar, and he's part of the deep state establishment. It made my blood boil when I watched that guy lie over and over again, and the treatment of Barr was just
Absolutely. I got to run, but I will tell you this, that I hope and I pray that today sometime I will get some kind of a notification across my desk from our senators and congressmen that they are outraged and appalled as to the treatment of Attorney General Barr. But you know what, Adrian? I don't think I'll see that paper. God bless you. I got to run. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
They're cowards.
Well, I know that. We've been over that. I got to run. Thank you. Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley. Don't
go in back there.
Adrian, I've got to run. Thank you. I'm late. Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley. And also another location at 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. Don't forget they've got the most of delicious food, great people to work with, and, of course, you're going to have exciting menu choices for you, your family, your neighbors, your friends, everybody to go on in and enjoy America's Diner. Denny's Restaurant at 611 North Overland in Burley, the home of Zeb's Lunch Bunch. We urge you to stop in. You'll be glad you did. Denny's Restaurant, America's Diner. Caller, go ahead, please. You're on the air.
Thank you, Zeb. You know, I hope I'll always be courteous to you to be able to give you a chance to get into the conversation. I think that is so important, and I hope I never have that against me.
Well, you know, the thing is, wait a minute, Keith, wait a minute. Let me say something right there. I am not trying to be disrespectful to any callers, but I have one thing that is my quarterback. My quarterback is the clock. I have to maintain a sense of being on time to finish things on a per-hour basis. And if I interrupt somebody, it's not to be rude, but I can't have rambling on this program. If there's a give and take, that's fine. But I have to be in control to where I can go to do my work and get my sponsorships in on time. That's all I'm going to say.
Well, that's the time when I quit listening. I don't shut the radio off, but I just don't pay attention anymore. But on this hearing with Bill Barr yesterday, the way the Democrats had just plain attack him, and their strategy was to put out their garbage and everything.
Yeah.
And then they tell him, just answer the question, yes or no.
Yeah.
Just like that. And so, you know, he turned out to be the hero of that hearing as far as I'm concerned.
He did, and it's a point well taken that you said. The phraseology that they constructed their questions were absolutely pathetic in the first place. And then demanding, like Hakeem Jeffries did of New York, I told you to answer yes or no. Well, Keith, you're a sharp man. You've been in business, private business, almost all your life. There are certain things that cannot be addressed with a simplicity answer of yes or no. They need and they demand definition. And that's what Barr was trying to do, and the Democrats were so rude.
Well, let's take when I used to be in business, in the car business. Do you want this car? Yes or no?
Yeah.
You know, you just can't do that with people. You just can't.
Well, there's extenuating circumstances and reasons. Yes, Mr. Cotton, we like this car, but, or we don't like the color of this car, but we like the makeup of this car, but. You know, there's so many things, and there are not simplistic answers as yes or no to the problems that are going on in our world today. Keith, I appreciate the points you brought up. Thank you very much.
You bet.
God bless you, man. Hey, don't forget, too, Barry Equipment and Rental Sales, Service, and Parts. And there are 3 locations, Burley, Twin Falls, and Napa. It goes without saying they've got a great, big, huge inventory of all the Bobcats, all the shapes and sizes, all the trenchers, all the scissor lifts, get you way up there. And, of course, they've got all the Doosan wheel loaders and the excavators. They've got excellent financing programs and also great leasing programs. You better get in there and check it out today for all the jobs you need to get done. Lifting, digging, pushing, and carrying. Barry Equipment and Rental. 159 West Highway 30 in Burley, 465 Addison Avenue West in Twin, and the Napa location. Barry Equipment and Rental. I think that yesterday, and I mean this, I think that yesterday opened up a new door to issue the Democrats into obscurity. I think it opened up that door to push the Democrats through into a unknown world of complete destruction. I honestly saw so much rudeness and an attitude of childish politics put forth by worthless bullies. I don't care if it was Nadler. I don't care if it was Hakeem Jeffries. I don't care who the Democrats were, and I'm being very partisan here. They were rude, and they were phony, and they did not want to hear one single answer. Thank goodness that some of the Republicans followed up with the questions that the Democrats said they were asking, but they didn't want answers to. And thank goodness that Jim Jordan of the GOP stood up, and he was admonished many times by Nadler and some of the Democrats, but he wouldn't weaken. That's the kind of backbone that the GOP needs in its entirety. It was so disgusting yesterday. Absolutely disgusting. And like I said, a complete waste of time. By the way, I don't know if you caught this or not. My wife was the one that noticed it first. It was about, I'm going to say about 20 minutes after 12 our time during the hearing. And the camera was panning around the room a little bit. Guess who was sleeping? Yep, little Jerry Nadler. He had his chin tucked down on his chest, and his eyes were closed. And an aide walked over from behind and put his hand on his shoulder, and I thought Jerry Nadler was going to bolt out of his chair. Yeah, he fell asleep during the proceedings yesterday. I just thought I'd pass that along. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. We the people are being lied to. Oh, gee, there's a press release that's been going on for quite some time. And we're definitely not being told the truth. Free speech is dying in this country. Yesterday, and I saw this video, and you can have your opinion on it, but we should never stifle free speech. YouTube canceled a video of prominent doctors discussing, the coronavirus and the possible cures for coronavirus. And specifically, they started talking about the hydroxychloroquine. And I noticed that when they were talking about this, they were talking about the advantages and some of their patients' reaction to this, and then they started talking about some of the other possible and potential cures of the dreaded coronavirus. Well, the media and YouTube and others have taken that video off and demanded that it not be played. That's right. The doctors were talking about hydroxychloroquine, and then they also went into, in a sharing of the microphone, talking about kids going back to school. Well, the Democrats have absolutely flipped over backwards, and they got a hold of all the news networks, and they said, stop that video, and they did. And even Donald Trump Jr.'s Twitter account that had that video on it was canceled. Ladies and gentlemen, we are watching the elimination, and the grave is being dug to throw free speech into the grave and cover it up. It's going to affect everybody, sooner or later. It's going to hit me. It's going to hit all talk show hosts that are of conservative veins. Free speech is under attack. And we've seen this thing start on college campuses and grow and fester like a cancer. But now we have the big boys, the Democratic Party, that are in control of the media, like CNN, Don Lemon, Cuomo, and others. And little by little, inch by inch, every single day, free speech is being stopped in this country. I don't trust Black Lives Matter. I don't believe in their philosophy. They are a Marxist communist organization bent on destroying the Constitution. Now, that's my statement against them. They don't like that. They don't want anybody to speak against them. Free speech is about ready to be tossed in the grave. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning again. I want to make a prediction that if Joe Biden picks Kamala Harris as the vice president and he gets elected, within the first week, she'll have him back in the basement because she is a vicious, vicious woman.
Well, it's the Democratic Party, and it's all the puppeteers, all the people and all the strings that have been applied to Joe Biden, kind of like a howdy-doody figure. That's Joe Biden. He's not able right now. He's just a shell of a man, and he is absolutely not able in mind, thought, word, or deed to be pushed as a president. He needs to sit down in the rocking chair and watch the butterflies, and I'm really afraid of who is going to be pulling the puppet strings and who's going to be the financing of that. It's scary, Keith.
Well, she is a very, very vicious woman. She's put a lot of people in prison that didn't deserve to go just because of her abilities as an attorney. And boy, she is one mean woman.
Well, we're assuming that she's going to be named. We're assuming that she's going to be named as the vice president for Biden. But I'm going to tell you right now that I agree with everything you said. I don't like her. I never trusted her. She is not of presidential caliber whatsoever. Her track record is far, far below average. I've got to get the weather on, Keith, but I thank you for your point right there. It's very well stated. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Caller number 2, you're going to have to wait just a moment, and I'm going to get you on the air, but I've got to get this weather forecast on by Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, and they are moving to a larger space on the Minidoka Memorial Hospital campus. That's right. As a matter of fact, they're going to be in their new space on August 4th next week, so their commitment to the community is getting bigger and bigger, and they're thankful for all the support that you've shown. You have hearing problems, they can help, they will help. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, 312-0957. Here's Gino with the weather.
Warming temperatures, and for this weekend, we are going to be in a heat advisory. Here's a look at your weather forecast. We are expecting mostly sunny skies for today, high of 91 with an overnight low of 59. By tomorrow, expecting a high of 96 under sunny skies with an overnight low of 65. Friday, we are expecting a high of 98. We're going to be in a heat advisory for that day with an overnight low of 60. Then by Saturday, looks like sunny skies and a high of 96. Pretty much the same for Sunday.
Wow.
Your weather for Zep at the Rain.
Warm. No. Warm doesn't apply. Hot. Yeah, right. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, absolutely serving you right behind the Minidoka Hospital, across from the emergency room. They are the best with your hearing health. Please make an appointment today, 312-0957. Caller, good morning. Thank you for your patience.
They just hung up.
Well, that was nice. Thank you very much. Call back, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. There was a pastor on TV yesterday, Pastor John MacArthur of Grace Community Church in California, and I like this guy. Not a big man, not a very strong-looking man, but I'll tell you what, absolutely a man that you have to respect. They are going to defy the orders from Governor Newsom in California to go ahead, and they're going to have their church services. Yes, they're going to wear the mask. Yes, they're going to have social distancing, but they are going to have their church services. He is not going to be cowed by Governor Newsom in California, and I like that. Churches today should be the last thing that would ever be asked to close. People need help. People need spiritual guidance. People need to sit down in the pews and look up at that cross and ask God for assistance. But yet, these same so-called leaders will say, oh, well, we're going to leave the liquor stores open. Yeah, we're going to leave the big box stores open. But don't you dare go to church. Well, I really respect this pastor down in California. And he said that very emphatically, Grace Community Church would remain open despite the order. And he said the state government had no right to interfere in ecclesiastical matters in a way that undermines or disregards the God-given authority of pastors and elders. God bless him. He's right. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. You know, I realize that I'm probably going to get some emails and some calls during the 9 o'clock news. People stating, well, you're advocating for a society of where people take the law in their own hands. Well, wait a minute. Wait a minute. What about the lawless that are disregarding the law and are absolutely stepping on the law in Portland 62 nights in a row? Seattle's a mess. Milwaukee's a mess. Minneapolis is a mess. I mean, you go around the country, there's fires burning in a lot of our big cities. And the law is not being respected because the law is not being applied. And the Detroit chief of police was on television yesterday. He is a black man. And he is a big man. And he said, quote, "We will not retreat." His name is James Craig. And he looked at the camera and he basically said, Detroit's not going to have any of this baloney. I cleaned it up a little bit. We will not retreat as police. We are going to do our job, and we are going to serve our public. And if you look at the status in the news, Detroit, they're not messing with this man. They're not messing with the police underneath Police Chief James Craig. They're leaving that city alone so far. And he said emphatically, we will not retreat. God bless him. Okay, I want to mention our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations. Oh my, these are good people, and they've got the best in tires. Yeah, they do. And for all the different tread designs, all the sizes, to fit all vehicles, I tell you, the inventory is absolutely amazing. And along with that, they've got brake specialists that are highly trained technicians that really know their stuff about brakes. Great brake service. I bit my tongue. And, of course, front end alignments. Oh, yeah, you don't want to be heading south, but actually your tires are going north. You want to make sure that front end is aligned just right. Shocks and struts, batteries, all of this and more. But there again, it all comes back to service. They really care. They really care about taking care of you. And they've got great on-the-farm service, too, on the dairy service with their service trucks. All you need to do is call. They're going to be there. James and Buell, Dan on Pole Line in Twin Falls, Lane and Rupert, Mike and Jerome, Dave on Blue Lakes in Twin Falls, the Twist family in Paul, and Trent on Oberlin in Burley. Yep, the best. Plain and simple. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Wow. I mentioned that we have doctors coming on the air this morning. Boy, do we ever. We've got Dave Bigo coming up next hour, and then we've got Dr. Brian Artis, and he's going to be talking about what are we going to believe? What are we going to believe when we watch the news or listen to the news? Are we going to believe what CBS tells us, or MSNBC or CNN? What do we got to believe about this virus and what's really going on? He's going to talk about that. Then at 10:06, we've got Dr. Bruce Hartman, and he's going to be talking about God, churches, and where we're at in this country with all the incivility going on. And then last but not least, one of our favorite guests that we get so many emails about, at 10:30, we're going to have him back. He was on last week, and we're going to have him back on again this week, Dr. Gerard Lamero, and discussing his book about real-world socialism and how the Democrats are pushing for socialism in this country. And we're going to talk about the riots. We're going to talk about no rule of law. We're going to be talking about the very slanted media. All of this coming up with Dr. Lamero, so don't go away. Don't forget this weekend, August 1st on Saturday at the Twin Falls City Park. That's right, Freedom is the Cure. It's going to be a great big event, and it's going to start at 10 o'clock in the morning and go all through the day. Don't you miss it. Right now, we're going to send this back over to our main studio, and we'll be back in about 7 minutes with more Zeb at the Ranch. Oh, my. Tomorrow we're going to be talking about that Edmo case a little bit on the radio. Absolutely disgusting that we, the taxpayers, paid for that. Hey, welcome back to Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley, Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you in a very safe, clean environment and the best tires and service. Don't forget, too, Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Right now, let's have this good word for Western Waste.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're all at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Waste Services.
Oh, my goodness, it's amazing the amount of people that are moving into this area. And we had a call here the other day, and they said, we heard the ad for Western Waste. What's that number? We want to get on the route service. I gave them the number. I hope they called. Absolutely, they are always at your disposal, and they'll put you on the route service, and once a week come by, get your trash. It's gone. It's out of there. Western Waste Services, 734-6969. You give them a call today. Big things going on at the Minidoka County Fair, and today, Wednesday, of course, don't forget, they've got a big junior rodeo starting tonight, and also they've got the Dutch oven cobbler and ice cream social tonight. Ooh, good eating over at the Minidoka County Fair. All the displays, all the exhibits, all the nice people, all the great food, it's all there. All American flair at the Minidoka County Fair and Rodeo. All this week, you stop over to the Minidoka County Fair. Let's not forget, too, our great friends with Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert, and, of course, Joel Heward, family, staff, and, of course, all serving you. It's a terribly difficult time when there's the passing of a loved one, and believe me, they're always there to serve you with very flexible hours, always upholding the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity. I urge you to write the number down and give them a call. 436-5636. That number again, 436-5636. Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert with our dear friend Joel Heward. And Joel also serving you and your family at Morrison Payne Funeral Home on East Main in Burley. Well, on Wednesdays, it's a very special day, because I get a chance to visit with one of my favorite people, and that's, of course, Dave Bego back in Indianapolis, Indiana. Good morning, my friend Dave Bego. How are you?
Good morning, my friend Zeb Bell. I'm doing fine. Hope you are too.
I am, and I'm going to get really serious, and I'm going to get really into it this morning. I want to ask you, you're always a straight shooter, give great answers. What was your kind of take, if you will, on what was so disgusting yesterday with a so-called hearing of Attorney General Bill Barr?
I think it was hypocritical, and, that's typical of the left. They talk out of both sides of their mouth, and, they want Americans to think they're giving people a chance to do something, and the Trump administration, but the truth is they're not. They're being hypocritical about the whole stuff.
I got to tell you something, that the rudeness, and I'll use that word, the rudeness was so dominant yesterday, and the complete diatribe that was scheduled by the Democrats. They would say a statement, and then they'd ask Barr for his answer, and he might start a 1 or 2 word answer, and then they'd say, please, I'm reclaiming my time. I'm reclaiming my time. It was nothing more than a circus, and a very cheap circus at that.
Yeah, you're exactly right, Seth, but these are their tactics. I've been through this, and, when I fought the SEIU, and, I had debates with them in front of big crowds, and that they started doing this stuff to me, but I stood up and wouldn't let them stop me, and I exposed their lies and their hypocrisy, and all that kind of stuff, and I had some very, very, very interesting information to share with the people that was all true, and I could tell them where to find it. And when you do that stuff to people like that, Zeb, what they do, they start bowing their heads and walking away. And, the SIU only debated me about 3 times because I exposed their lies and hypocrisy every time. And after that, they wouldn't do it anymore.
Well, I understand that, but you've got to concede the fact that when the questions were asked or statements were made, and then they made it phrased so that, Mr. Barr, I want you to answer yes or no. None of the questions were yes and no questions.
Well, that's when you have to stand up to them and say that, and say these aren't yes or no questions. These are questions that deserve the truth to be told to the American people, and then spell it out. And that's when you get these people on the left to start backing down.
I thought it was not only disheartening but despicable that Attorney General Barr had to sit through this. It was a waste of his time and our time. I had to watch it because I had to report on it on my program. But I watched that. I think her name is Avapile from Washington State. She's a black congresswoman, and she kept asking him questions. She wouldn't let him say a word of answer, and then all of a sudden she sat back in her chair and said, I'm losing my temper with you, Attorney General Barr, and the poor guy hadn't had a chance to say anything.
Oh, yeah, Zeb, that's the way these people are. They, the people on the left, it's all about who they are and what they say and do, and it's all about control. And they want to control this country and all of us people here. And the American people need to wake up, and this is a simple thing to do. Watch what they do, not what they say.
Absolutely.
Their actions speak much louder than their words.
I agree with you. But Dave, I made this point last hour, and I want you to amplify this a little bit. Not one of the Democrats, led by little bitty Jerry Nadler, had the backbone or the honesty to admit to the chaos and the mobs destroying cities in America. Not one of them.
No, because behind the scenes they're being controlled by the left, and they're afraid to speak out because they'll get attacked behind the scenes by the far left and the unions and Soros and people like that, and of course they're also looking for their contributions, funds, so they can get reelected, and a lot of that's coming from the unions. I just saw yesterday, the day before. Thing I got, the SIU has already contributed about $350 million to the Democratic election this year.
Oh, $350 million?
Yeah.
Oh,
think about that. That's
wow.
news money.
And all of that money, I got to ask you kind of a naive question here. Of all that $350 million, I would dare say that not everybody that was forced into contribution really wanted that money to go in that direction.
Well, that's right. And if you, and I encourage people to read my blogs, and I've been back online here just recently and looking at my blogs, which I started back in around 2010, and I wrote 2017, and I talk about all this stuff, and I talk about socialism and and what they're doing and all that kind of stuff, and when you go back and look at this, you find out all these points that is going on today, and how I exposed them, and I even on one of my last few blogs, and even some of our other blogs, I made the point is it's time for Americans to wake up and fight back, and that's what we got to do.
Okay, but wait a minute. Wait just a minute. When you say it's time for Americans to wake up and fight back, I said the statement earlier this morning, and I said I was being somewhat facetious. I said, let's pull all the federal troops and all the federal agents, I should say politely and correctly, out of Portland, Seattle, and other places. Let the mobs and let these crazy kooks burn the city down. And I said that I hope and pray that we, the people, will go back into our roots and say enough is enough and take back these cities. If somebody gets a bloody nose, I don't care. We've got to take back the law and the rule of law in this country.
Yes, Deb, you're exactly right. And, this is all about the taking of American freedoms. And this is, I wrote this, I'm going to tell you about this blog, and this is about Obama going for re-election in 2012. It's American values headed for demise. Who's at the wheel? And, of course, Obama was at the wheel. And, I just went on and on what he's trying to do to this country. And you got to understand right now, behind the scenes, Obama, and I think you've seen recently where he's getting behind Biden more and more and doing more and more. Mm-hmm. He wants Biden elected so that he can run the country behind the scenes, because Obama or Biden won't be able to do it.
Absolutely.
And but Obama will do it behind the scenes. And people I got to understand, and this is one of the blogs I wrote back then. This is all about the taking of American freedoms, and America needs to understand. This is another one of my blogs. We are at war. Armageddon is at hand. Please wake up and vote no to Obama and his SEIU. Now we got to vote no to Biden and Obama.
This man, and I'm not trying to be at all denigrating of Joe Biden, because many elderly, and you and I are in that category, I guess, many elderly suffer from losing faculties, losing the mentality, a lot of things in older age. Joe, right now, if people will be honest with themselves and look at tapes, look at videos, look at interviews of a year ago, 2 years ago, 3, they will see that Joe Biden, quite frankly, is in a place where he really needs to sit on the lawn and chase butterflies. He is not presidential caliber. And to think that he would be a president, and to think who would be pulling the howdy-doody strings if he is elected, it's really scary.
Well, and I mentioned this on your show before, this is all about getting Biden elected, because they think the left thinks he seems more conservative to a big part of the American people, so he'll get more votes that way. But behind the scenes, they're never going to let him run the country. He's just going to be the presidential by name, and Obama and other people are going to run the country behind the scenes. And with the dementia that he's having right now, and this was on, I believe, CNN. I just saw they sent a video out, and it showed Biden sitting there talking to the CNN host, and he came up, and one of his final words is, "I'm going to beat Joe Biden." Joe left it, lost it, right on TV.
Yeah. I mean, it's sad, honestly, that the Democrats have pushed this man that is suffering from a mental back into the past is running as their nominee for president. But then also as scary are the reports that they will name Kamala Harris as vice president. I've followed this woman. I have followed her track record. I have followed her politics. And I'd be very honest with you, Dave Bigo, I'm scared that if the Democrats pull off this election because of a jaded, slanted media and because of a falsified balloting at the polls, Kamala Harris would be the president, and this is spooky.
Well, it is because, she is really behind the unions and controlled by the unions.
Yes.
Also,
yes.
Of course, the unions, as I said many times, control the media and what's going on out there and what they're saying and about Trump and attacking him and stuff like this. And this is all about their program to take down this country by winning the White House and the Senate in November.
Yeah. Dave, I'm going to say this to you, and I mean it. I don't say anything I don't mean. Free speech, our First Amendment, they've dug a hole, and they're going to bury it if the Democrats win this next election. I was shocked when I heard yesterday about a video of doctors that were having somewhat of a press conference and answering questions about hydroxychloroquine and other medicines for the coronavirus. That video was demanded by the Democrats to be stopped, cease, and not played again. And they also got a hold of Twitter and canceled Donald Trump Jr.'s Twitter account because he had that video of the doctors on his Twitter account. Wow! Americans had better realize free speech is dying.
Well, yeah, and again, because, Zeb, and I got to say this all the time, people need to wake up and look behind the scenes because the unions control the mainstream media, and they're going to continue to do this stuff, and it's going to get worse as we get closer to the election. And, they're pounding away hard now, and this is what they're going to do. And, it's sad. I saw what TV, what you were just talking about last night, and the American people need to wake up and understand that these people, again, are hypocrites, they're liars, they're not telling the American people the truth. Watch what they do, not what they say.
But my question to you is, Dave, I'm going to keep going on this program as long as I can. And I'm going to keep saying and stating what I think is not only free speech, but correct speech. You know as well as I do, if the demented left wins this next election, God help us all, I guarantee you that a year from now, I won't be on the radio.
Well, that's the concerning part, Zeb, and, they'll take us from as in the video that I sent you and we talked about last week.
Yep.
They want to take us, from a socialist to a communist country and control everything and take all of our freedoms away from us. And that's all what it's all about on people on the far left who really don't know how and don't understand how to be successful in a free market capitalistic society.
Let me ask you, what's the accepted mode of thought back in Indianapolis about going back to school this fall?
There's a lot of people that want to do it, and they've pushed it off just a little bit, but I think I think it's going to happen here in Indiana, and it's even interesting. I was at breakfast at a place this morning, and there was a guy and a gal sitting at the table next to me talking, and they were talking about it, and they wanted to get things back and going and everything. And they say I was a teacher, and she was ready to go back and everything like that. And it was interesting listening to them and talking to them a little bit. And they agreed that what's going on in this country is controlled by the media, and that this is a whole thing to bring down this country.
Yeah. I think that the longer that we delay schools and the longer that we keep perpetrating negativity, and the longer the media is out there scaring people every day into staying in their homes, and oh my goodness, it's all doom and gloom. This is all a planned approach by the absolutely vermin left to not only stop Trump, but bury conservatism forever in this country.
Well, it is, and the conservative that died this past week, he's 55 years old, the guy from North Carolina.
Yeah.
And he was an educator and a professor, and he was trying to expose the left and everything like that, and they in his programs that he did and everything like that, and they kept taking it all away from him, and he committed suicide. I saw this morning an article. They came out and said that it was a suicide. He shot himself in the head.
Yeah.
And this is the thing, and I've talked about this before. The left has controlled our education for the last 30 or 40 years, and they want to continue to do this because they want to teach kids that it's all about socialism and communism, and this is where we're going in this country, and you need to stand behind us.
One real quick question here before I have to let you go. We've got about 7 days left prior to the election, and most of the polls, of which I don't give much credence to the polls, I think they're falsified and phony, but they're showing Trump on an average down by double digits. This scares me that the American public is duped into this naive attitude that Joe Biden's going to be the savior of the world and that they're going to accept socialism in this country. What about the next 97 days? Can Trump turn this around, and how?
Yes, he can, but he needs to get out there more and speak in front of people and do it very professionally in that. And that's the important thing about it, is getting out in front and talking to people, because the left is just trying to brainwash people. And, you've got to expose what they're doing, but again, you got to do it in a very professional way, because the left doesn't know how to handle professionalism. And he needs to get out there, and the more people see him, the more they're going to get on his side. And I think the polls, by the way, are overdone. Again, the media controls all that stuff. So, and I would suggest that I really want people to go back and read my blogs starting back in 2010 or so, and read what I've went through and all the stuff I learned after that. And they can do it at thedevilatmydoorstep.wordpress.com.
Okay.
And when you go on there, you can actually go down to a part on the front page that says archive posts. It gives you can pick them out from every month from 2010 up to 2017. And I explain a lot of this stuff.
I wish I had more time. I had more things to ask you, but I'm running out of time, and I want to say thank you very much to my dear friend back in Indianapolis, Indiana, Dave Bigo. God bless you, and hopefully we'll talk to you again next Wednesday. Thanks, Dave. Stay safe.
Thanks, and God bless to you, too.
All right, buddy. Thank you. Dave Bigo, good friend of this program and has been for many, many years, and I appreciate him being on the show. Want to remind you about some folks that, and I forgot to call Nick yesterday. If he's listening, Nick, I forgot to call you yesterday. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, headed up by Nick Greenwell and all the physical therapists. Now, maybe you've been injured in an accident. Maybe that you're trying to recoup from a surgery or whatever. Maybe you're just absolutely sick of all the aching and the paining. They can help with exercises. They've got the only hydrotherapy pool of its kind in the area. All of this with the very highly trained individuals helping you get back to being you. Number to call, make an appointment, 678-1191. That number again, 678-1191. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. By the way, I mentioned last hour, and I'm going to say it again, you deserve a treat. You deserve maybe taking a little time out of your hectic schedule and going to America's Diner. Oh, yeah. Great food, delicious food at Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley. And another location at 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. I mean, if you love breakfast, lunch, dinner, anytime, all the time, all the desserts, I'm always partial to breakfast. And boy, you got to go in and try the strawberry crepe breakfast. Woo! Knock your boots off delicious at America's Diner, Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley, the home of Zeb's Lunch Bunch. You betcha. We're going to have our next guest, and I want to get him on the program in just a moment. I got a couple of more ads, and I want to say thank you to him because he jumped in at the spur of the moment this morning. We had another guest cancel, and so I called this gentleman, and he was very amenable to coming on our program. Dr. Brian Ardis will be with us momentarily. Want to remind you, too, about Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. Now, when you walk in the showroom, you're going to stand there and go, holy moly, how did they get all these side-by-sides and four-wheelers in here? I mean, it's amazing. They got them crammed in there. And everything for you to go in and buy some fun. Absolutely. Get up in the hills, go on the trails. You're going to love it. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, Saturdays, 9 to 2. Located at 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World, and all the accessories. Great service department at Let's Ride, where the fun is sold. Over in that same area, we say this every day, they're right there on Highway 24 as you make the curve going into Rupert. Oh, yeah, there they are. Big sign, can't miss them. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. And I know from my own personal occasions with them, they are always dedicated and responsive to your needs. Absolutely. Todd and the rest of the folks with the best of life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits, all of this and more. And the only thing you need to do is just pick up the phone and make a call. Make an appointment. 436-4424. Simple as that. 436-4424. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Right now, let's go to the phone line, and we have the CEO of ArtisLabs.com, Dr. Brian Ardis. Sir, thank you for a last-minute acceptance of being on my program. I appreciate it.
Well, thanks for the invite. I'm excited to be here to share some things with your audience.
Well, I'm very, very excited to ask you, and I'm going to be telling you right now that I'm very blunt. I do not beat around the bush, and I expect the answers to be back at me in the same way. I'm going to start things off this morning by asking you, what in the world do we believe about the coronavirus, about the possible cures, the possible medications? It seems like those on the left are trying to cover up some of the news media's attempt to get some of the news to us, like what took place yesterday with a gathering of doctors at a news conference, and that video is canceled. Give me the straight get-go. What's going on with the virus?
The cover-up is disgusting. I'll just have to say that. The actual doctors, the frontline doctors who their recorded interview that was actually taken down off of Facebook and YouTube, it should be very obvious to the public that as some doctors are trying to reduce the fear and anxiety around a virus that there are solutions for, truly. For that to be taken down and not be a voice shared is really devastating. And I do not think that it is fair, and I don't think that we should allow that to occur in this country, especially in one of a free speech, obviously.
Dr. Ardis, let me ask you this, and I can tell already you're a straight shooter. Hydroxychloroquine and others of that ilk that have been said, yes, they will help the patients with the coronavirus. Why is there so much misinformation or holding of information? Why?
All right, this is the why. Are you ready?
Yes.
This has got to be so obvious to your listeners, okay? This is the problem I have right now with the down talk and downplay of the benefits of possibly using hydroxychloroquine. A couple things people need to know about hydroxychloroquine. It's actually been an FDA-approved drug for the last 70 years. That by itself should tell you there's been federal agencies that have reviewed it, determined its safety and efficacy against certain conditions and health issues. To actually say that one's not beneficial in a state of emergency that we're in right now, I don't know if your listeners know this, but do you know that remdesivir that's being pushed by these people in these different organizations like the NIH, CDC, and FDA, this one drug has never been FDA approved in this country or reviewed for efficacy or found efficacious against any viral infection ever? Do you know this?
I did not know that, no.
I'm not sure any of your listeners know this, but it is not FDA approved. It never has been. And as of May, the FDA put out this emergency use authorization, which is not an FDA approval. This is an emergency push to use a drug that honestly has never been FDA approved, and you can look that up. My problem is remdesivir was actually pushed by these three agencies, and there's only been 2 different studies done with remdesivir. One was on Ebola, which is a virus, and they did it 4 years ago as an experimental drug with 3 other experimental drugs. Remdesivir, halfway through the study, the safety board took all of the people that were on remdesivir, all of the Ebola virus victims, they took them off remdesivir because halfway through the study, more people were dying on remdesivir than the other 3 trial drugs. That's one study, so it was found not efficacious or beneficial in Ebola virus patients. Now, fast forward to 3 months ago, there was a COVID study with 53 patients in China conducted by Gilead, which is the manufacturer of remdesivir. They actually found when they gave these 53 patients with COVID in China remdesivir, within the first 5 to 10 days, 23% of them experienced serious adverse reactions of these 4 things. This is very important for your audience. Multiple organ dysfunction syndrome, meaning multiple organs shut down, acute kidney injury or a kidney failure, also septic shock and hypotension, which is severe blood pressure dropping, which can be fatal. All 4 of these scenarios, by definition, are fatal. All 4 of these occurred in 23% of all the people put on remdesivir. Another 8% had to be taken off the drug because it created such severe reactions to their health, they had to come off of it. That's 31% of all the people that were put on remdesivir. Now, this same drug, based on these 2 failed studies, are being pushed by the NIH, CDC, and FDA. And then they're actually bad-mouthing hydroxychloroquine, chloroquine, and other MD-proven COVID cures using FDA-approved drugs currently.
Dr. Ardis, okay, I'm just a cowboy from Idaho, okay? But I think a very simplistic question would be, why? Why is there the pushing of remdesivir over hydroxychloroquine? Why is there a pushing of a drug that's not been proven? It's been proven also to be very dangerous. What's going on here and why?
This is very, very dangerous, and I'll tell you, I know that more people in America are dying from the protocols in hospitals using remdesivir than they are dying of the COVID virus. The reason why I know this is in February, I watched hospital protocols very similar to what you're seeing with COVID right now, instituted in hospitals. My father-in-law in February went into a hospital with the flu. By day 5, he went unconscious because the drug protocol they put him on from day 1 shut down his kidneys, filled his lungs with fluid. They diagnosed him with pneumonia, which is what you hear with COVID patients. They don't have pneumonia, by the way. They have pulmonary edema. Their lungs are filling up with water as the remdesivir is shutting down their kidneys. It's the exact same play. These people are drowning to death. By day 12, my father-in-law was unconscious and dead as a result of the protocols in hospitals that they would not change. Same thing is occurring now with COVID, and it disgusts me that if it's the left that's just pushing this, because the people on the right, like even Donald Trump, would actually encourage a drug like hydroxychloroquine, which is proven to be safe. It doesn't kill the majority of people that go on it, and it's been proven safe by the FDA for the last 70 years. Why in the world would anyone push a drug that is killing people when we're supposedly in the country with the greatest healthcare system? And I don't know if you know this, my friendly cowboy from Idaho, but your listeners need to know this also. 2 years ago, Johns Hopkins University put out a study. They actually found that medical doctor error is the number 3 cause of death in America. This is not a new stat. the CDC's been reporting this every year for at least the last 15 years that I know of. They're the number 3 cause of death, with 250,000 people dying every year as a result of drugs, surgical procedures, and incorrect diagnosing, and hospital protocols. Well, if we know this many people are dying, now they're pushing a drug that's not FDA approved but proven and shown in research studies to kill people. Now you should know why the numbers of deaths in America from COVID are much higher than any other country in the world.
Oh, my.
Country in the world, telling every single hospital to treat every severe COVID patient with a drug proven to shut down your kidneys, which will ultimately lead to your death, and at least put you at a higher risk for death.
My head is spinning right now with the very direct information you're giving us. I'm sitting here, I'm 72 years old. I am in the category of high risk with a heart problem, and my wife has health problems also. But we can't live our life in a bubble. We can't worry about the what-ifs every day. We have to be concerned about the what is. What does the future look like with this coronavirus, and really what looks like a circus clown trying to run things on the left and the Democrats trying to shield information? What's going on here?
Well, it's a great point, and I want to let you know that we can stop actually trusting the clown. I'm going to actually tell you right now, if you actually want to actually tell your audience, I have an email at doc@artislabs.com. That's doc@ardislabs.com. I just need you to know that your audience doesn't have to be in fear or worry anymore. There's already answers for COVID that are medically FDA approved. In my report, I have a 12-page report I'll send to any of your audience members for free, and yourself, but it includes Dr. Richard Bartlett's protocol out of Odessa, Texas. He's been curing at least 5 COVID patients every day since the beginning of March using 2 FDA-approved drugs and a supplement called zinc that is known to kill viruses.
Mm-hmm.
Also in that report, I love the approach of preventing and boosting the immune system against infections so your body can clear them. And I believe and have seen it can do it with COVID also. In that report, the last 2 pages are Dr. Bartlett's protocol that you can print out, which includes FDA-approved medications, and then my nutritional protocol to boost your immune system and help your body clear a virus on its own, which it can do even with COVID. This is what I suggest to people like you and to your audience. If any individuals contracted COVID and you're getting severe symptoms, pressure on your chest, hard breathing, you feel like you need to be taken to a hospital, print out Dr. Richard Bartlett's protocol that's linked in my report. Just print it out. It's got 50 research studies proving his actual protocol against COVID. Print it out and hand it to the medical doctors in the hospital and demand that they follow that protocol, not the one the NIH, CDC, and FDA are pushing. The drugs in that protocol are available in every hospital, every pharmacy. If it was me and it was a loved one of mine, I would encourage them to go to a primary care doctor and demand the same protocol if they wanted medicine. Otherwise, I would encourage them to follow the nutritional protocol I've put together. Either way, your body will recover, your body can heal, and I believe the body can do it.
I don't mean to be
poisons into it that are going to actually create side effects detrimental to lead to death.
Absolutely. I don't mean to beleaguer the fact and stay just with senior citizens like I am, but it seems to me they're the most susceptible group. What about seniors, whether they are in good health condition or whether they have some underlying problems? Is it a death knell automatically if they get COVID?
No, it is absolutely a falsehood. If you are ill or if you're elderly and you contract COVID, it is not a death sentence. This is the thing I need to get people to understand. Their life is not in danger. The problem that has been created for years, I'm talking years now, a lot of our elders have been given diagnoses of high blood pressure,
yes,
issues, diabetes.
Yes.
Every single medical condition these elderly people are being diagnosed with, they are already on medications being treated for those conditions. And I don't know if you've ever listened to a drug commercial. Every drug commercial will tell you, make sure your doctor checks your kidneys and your liver functions often once you start taking your medication. Every single medication people are living on, including every elderly, those medications are putting stress on the kidneys. So when I talk about this protocol being instilled in hospitals right now, you add already stressed kidneys from medications people are already taking, from their heart issues, diabetes issues, or autoimmune issues in the elderly, and you throw in antibiotics, which they're going to in the hospitals for COVID, and you throw in remdesivir, which is proven to shut down the kidneys, the likelihood of death goes sky high. Within a 24 to 48-hour period, you'll see multiple organs start to fail. And that's because they're already being compromised by medications they're already being treated for. So when I say I would recommend Dr. Richard Bartlett's protocol that's in my report, this is why. Your body can do it without needing these drugs that are going to affect the kidneys. And Dr. Richard Bartlett has actually put together a protocol with 2 medications that don't stress the kidneys. So this is why it's very important that the elderly know about this protocol. It's why I encourage them to build their immunity with our nutritional protocol. And, of course, that's why I'm making my report available to anyone.
Dr. Artis,
There's already an answer.
Dr. Artis, let me ask you this. I mean, we're in the middle of, since March 1st, what has been a complete degradation of our economic system in this country, our social well-being in this country, our kids out of school. I mean, people are afraid to go anywhere. People aren't shaking hands anymore. People are scared to visit with their neighbors. People can't go to church. I mean, our whole society's been turned upside down by this coronavirus. Is there a light at the end of the tunnel, or is this a perpetrated chaotic fact that's put forth by the left to gain more control over us?
Oh, it's actually both. So it really is a real virus. It really isn't more dangerous than the flu, to be honest. The body can handle it. Just don't drug the body and it won't die. It isn't more dangerous than the flu. It's very new to the human being, so it's traveling very quickly. But by far, it is being exaggerated. Fear and panic are being pushed by the left. And it is making everyone on the right, they're trying to do this, make them look very dumb, uneducated, and ignorant. The truth is, if you ever look at who's actually pushing these agendas, most of them aren't medically trained in any kind. So, nor are they actually trained in how to actually heal the body nutritionally or health-wise. So they are being influenced. The largest lobbying power in the government is pharmaceutical lobbyists, by far. So if you want to know who's driving these agendas, follow the money, those who are pushing the drugs, any of those that aren't even approved by the FDA. The only reason why the FDA would ever push it, you got to consider who's paying them off to actually push a drug that's actually been shown to hurt more people and been taking off in these studies before they push it onto our American people.
Absolutely. Dr. Artis, we have a caller with a question or a comment. Quickly, caller, I'm down to the last few minutes. Please, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Yes, Doctor. I'm sorry if I may have missed it, but I'm busy, but I'm a concerned citizen. Yesterday, when the doctors who were very concerned, open-minded, logical, practical doctors were pulled down off of YouTube and Facebook, I was furious, but I'm always furious. I would be nice to think that those doctors would have another chance to speak to the American people. Would Donald Trump, do you think, consider having them at a press conference at the White House, and where they would, it would give them another chance to express the truth of this, or hang up?
Caller, yes, we discussed that a moment ago, but Dr. Artis, if you'd reiterate what you said, I'd appreciate it.
Sure. I absolutely believe Donald Trump would have them in to actually help them share. I believe the left is actually squashing this information. They're wanting to instill fear. It's very politically driven. Of course, we've got a Republican in the White House. This is an election year. I really do think that obviously their power is trying to actually create more fear and anxiety and make this actual presidential position look bad in his ability to control this. And the truth is, there's medical doctors with the answers. Dr. Richard Bartlett's got his protocol. I've got my nutritional protocol that are already proven to have a 100% cure rate for COVID. These doctors that tried to voice themselves yesterday or the day before, they did a great job of trying to reduce fear and anxiety. And anyone who wants to stop that and suppress the message that you don't have to live in fear and anxiety in this wonderful country of America, you have to really question what their agenda is.
Dr. Artis, last question. We've seen since the middle of March, Dr. Fauci and Dr. Birx take headline statements from the White House press briefing, and they've been so-called leaders on the coronavirus. Dr. Fauci said we don't have to wear masks, and then he came back and said we should wear masks. Quickly, I've only got 3 minutes left. Give us your take on the mask wearing of the American public.
I actually believe that we are following, this is no doubt and just observational, we are following exactly what China did. all the same social distancing, wearing a mask. It didn't work there. Spain adopted it. Italy adopted it. They had tons of deaths there. We then brought it here. The whole idea of wearing masks is not helpful. It restricts airflow.
Yes.
I don't even know if you know this. I have a stepdaughter that works in a hospital right now in Houston. The actual staff members are actually, per the hospital collects all the masks people are wearing, and then they recycle them to everyone. Not to the same people. They recycle the same mask and don't even wash them. This has been going on for months.
Oh, my.
So the use of masks creates more of a threat. It actually restricts oxygenation that we need. It actually can trap the infections. And just so you know, whoever in medical research has ever heard that a cotton or paper mask stops the spread of a virus? If that was true, then the flu wouldn't spread if you just put a bed sheet over our faces while we were at home. It doesn't make any sense. It's not logical. It's never been proven. And I think it's ridiculous.
Absolutely. Caller, I'm going to give you 30 seconds. State your case real fast. Go ahead. Okay, thank you. Dr. Artis, I want to tell you that I have never had a more stimulating conversation with any doctor that's been on my program previously about the coronavirus and the rights and the wrongs. You have been very straightforward. Please tell everyone where they can follow information from you on the website. Give us that again.
Great. So if you'll email me at doc@artislabs.com, ARDISLABS.com, I will give you my 12-page report on COVID that explains everything you're seeing in protocols right now, and then the answers that actually provide hope in actually curing for COVID, from Dr. Richard Bartlett's protocol to mine. Secondly, you can go to vocalnow.com, VOKALNOW.com. If you click sign up on that website, hit sign up, fill in your info, look for the Dr. Artis Show. That's my podcast show. Just click favorite under there. You'll have access to my COVID podcast I created several weeks ago that has a lot of the same information in there. And you can actually watch that, subscribe, and then each week I'm pumping out new health-related and awareness-related shows each week.
I'm telling you what, you've got to make a promise to me in front of thousands of people right now that you're going to come back, Dr. Artis. I've thoroughly enjoyed your openness and your candid answers. Thank you very much.
Well, I would love it. I appreciate it. And the more we get the word out, the less fear and anxiety people live with.
God bless you, sir. Dr. Brian Artis, CEO of artislabs.com, thank you for being on the show. Wow. You can bet, audience, you can bet I'm going to have him back on the air in not too distant time in the future. Thank you very much. Right now, let's go to the weather forecast. And I noticed just a little bit of rumbling on the line again this morning here. I thought we had that fixed, but we had a call and they were wondering what was going on. I said, I don't know. Anyway, Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company bring you the weather forecast, providing accounting services to the Mini-Cache area for over 50 years. They are the professionals. Absolutely. They know the best in tax return preparation, tax planning, business consulting, bookkeeping services, retirement planning, all of this for you, your family, and your business. I urge you to get a hold of them today with offices in Burley and Rupert, the professionals. Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. And right now, here's the weather.
Warming temperatures, and for this weekend, we are going to be in a heat advisory. Here's a look at your weather forecast. We are expecting mostly sunny skies for today, high of 91 with an overnight low of 59. By tomorrow, expecting a high of 96 under sunny skies with an overnight low of 60 by Friday. We are expecting a high of 98. We're going to be in a heat advisory for that day with an overnight low of 60. Then by Saturday, looks like sunny skies and a high of 96. Pretty much the same for Sunday. That's a look at your weather for Zeb Duran.
So in other words, you're telling me it's going to be hot. Yeah, I think so. Weather forecast brought to you by Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. And like I said, they are the best at providing accounting services for you, your family, and your business. Offices at 1710 Overland in Burley and 625th Street in Rupert. The professionals, Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. Wow, that conversation with Dr. Brian Artis was one of the most straightforward conversations I've heard about the coronavirus, the severity or not, what to do, what not to do, talking about hydroxychloroquine and remdesivir as medications, the dangers of the remdesivir. We need to be hearing more of this. We don't need to be meek sheep that are following in lockstep and doing whatever the supposed leaders and experts, underline the word experts, tell us to do. I am personally going to get a hold of all the information that he was talking about regarding the Richard Bartlett information 12-page study on COVID-19. I'm going to do all that. I'm going to peruse through it. I'm going to have him back on the air, Dr. Brian Ardis, and we're going to go over it step by step in a longer segment. You in the audience, me, my wife, my family, we all need to take charge of our health and not be led down an alley by people just trying to push us all in there in a kind of a group thought. We need to know what's going on. I want to remind you, too, about our friends at Patterson's Electronics. Hello, Curtis and Lorena. Oh, these are good people at 421 East Main in Burley. They've got everything, all your electronic needs. I mean, man, they can sit and explain it to you. I've had Curtis on the phone, and he goes like this with the monster cables and the power cords and the home theater systems and the surveillance cameras and the complete sound systems and all the television sets and everything. Oh, my goodness. You talk about having all the available information to help you with your electronic needs right there at Patterson's Electronics, 421 East Main in Burley. They're open Monday through Saturday, 9 to 6. I urge you to stop down. And if you want to give them a call first, 678-6997. Patterson's Electronics, 421 East Main in Burley. What have we got cooking next hour? We've got two more doctors coming on the program. That's right. At 10:06, we have the author of Jesus and Company, and that's going to be Dr. Bruce Hartman. And that's going to be a really interesting article and segment about how to maybe get everybody back together and a little bit more brotherly love in our society. And then at 10:30 this morning, one of my all-time favorites. I just really appreciate this man, Dr. Gerard Lamero, with his latest book, Real World Socialism. And let me tell you, I've read the book twice, and everything that he says in that book is coming to fruition or already has come to fruition as to what the left wants to do to the United States of America. And we're going to be talking to him about the riots, the mobs. We're going to be talking to him about Antifa and Black Lives Matter. All of that coming up at 10:30. So stay tuned. Leave the dial right where it's at. Zeb at the Ranch, and we've got that horrendous fuzz coming back on the line. Sean, I might reestablish a new line during the break, so be aware of that. I'll call back, and you go to the news from CBS. Oh, my. Going to be another warm couple of days. Stay cool, everybody. Don't forget Zeb at the Ranch, brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations, safe, clean environment, and the best in tires and service. Along with our friends at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Want to remind you, too, about some friends of ours, Matt and Kelly Wiggins, and they've been with us for quite some time on this program, and they have built one of the nicest, most beautiful senior homes in this area, a 12-bedroom home. It's a great big family unit right there at Greystone Crossing, Independent Senior Living on Alfresco Road, 1221 21st Street, just a mile east of Walmart. I urge you seniors to give him a call. Give Kelly and Matt a call at 650-4979. Both this husband and wife will be tickled to death to help you set up an appointment to see the beautiful facilities at Greystone Crossing. That number again, 650-4979. Greystone Crossing, Senior Living, 1221 21st Street in Hayburn. Want to also mention to you our friends at 7K Metals. My, you can save money, build your financial security, and it's a great valued treasure with silver purchases for later on in the future for your loved ones. Find out more about these silver purchases that can be sent right to your home. Contact my friend Lon Hardy at 312-8699 or Sharon at 430-3259. Mention my name. Tell them I told you to call. They'll help you. 7K Metals with silver purchases, helping you create your own security bank. All right, let's see. Let us go to the phone line right now. And with us is a gentleman that's been on my program before. He's the author of Jesus and Company. Good morning, Dr. Bruce Hartman. How are you?
I'm doing terrific, and thank you for having me on your show this morning.
You know, Dr. Hartman, I think it goes without saying that in my 72 years, I have never seen America with so much animosity and hate for each other, and basically nobody wants to get along with anybody else. Do you think I'm way off base on that?
No, I think you're 100% accurate. These are very, very difficult and unusual times right now.
What about getting back together and being able to sit down and in a polite adult way, finding out where the other side of the table is coming from, and then you getting a chance to express your side and your thoughts? I mean, is that gone forever? How do we get back to that?
You know, I don't think it's gone forever. When you end up with something this acute, it eventually blows up, and then you return to normalcy whenever you have a crisis like this. But I think what you said is what we have to keep doing, which is sit down with folks, hear their point of view. You're not going to agree with 100% anybody says, but focus on what you do agree with and use that as a basis of friendship. And I think also, I think this election is going to be very important for Americans to vote, but vote for people that aren't divisive. And I think too many of our leaders are divisive, and I think it's reflecting itself back in our society.
But I'm not going to blame the leaders for the sole content of the problem here today. I mean, look at the people that have started insurrectionist groups like Antifa and Black Lives Matter, which are Marxist communist organizations which are bent every day when they get out of bed to destroy, burn, and loot. This is insane.
Oh, Zeb, I call this a hustle, and that's what it is. What we're seeing right now is a hustle. And unfortunately, people aren't paying attention to it being a hustle. So, for instance, Black Lives Matter, the foundation, it's a Marxist organization. There's very little that they do to support the black community. And what you're starting to see now is a lot of black leaders like Larry Elder, Anthony Pilot, Ben Carson, a lot of the black leaders are starting to distance themselves from this group. And, you know, one of their key executives is this woman, Susan Rosenberg. I don't know if you remember her.
Mm-hmm.
She was the one that tried to blow up the White House and the Capitol building in the 80s. She got sent to jail for 58 years. Clinton's last hour that he was in office, he pardoned her. And now somehow she's infiltrated her way into this organization. She's a terrorist. I mean, you look her up on Wikipedia, they'll say she's an activist. This is a convicted felon. And all the stuff that we're seeing in these democratic cities is the same type of stuff she was trying to do in the 70s and 80s. And it's not a coincidence. So what you're talking about is correct, that you have these crazy things happening. But this is being done by design by a terrorist organization. And I feel bad for the black community because they're being associated with some of this mayhem.
You know, what you said was very spot on, but let's get to the bottom line, the last sentence on the sheet. What do we do? I mean, how are we going to stop this? I mean, Antifa and Black Lives Matter and the degradation of what's going on in Portland and the destruction in Seattle and Chicago with the mass killings every weekend, no respect for human life. I mean, what are we going to do?
Well, I think one is we got to put an end to this defund the police. That is the most illogical thing I've ever heard in my entire 67 years, Zeb. I don't know why you would do that. And you know and I know almost all police officers are decent men and women.
Yes.
And sure, there's a couple of rogues, but that's true in every part of society. There's always a couple of people that don't know how to behave themselves. So that's the first thing I would do is get back to our police and make sure that they know the truth, that most Americans support them. That's the first thing I would do. The second thing I would do is encourage people like you that are on the radio, that have a voice, to keep speaking up about this. And then the third thing that I think we need to do, I don't know why this Susan Rosenberg thing isn't on the news more. I mean, I've seen it on Fox, but you're not seeing it on ABC, NBC, or CBS. She's behind all this mayhem, and as well as this Marxist organization. All you have to do is read the website. In their mission statement, they use the word comrade 5 or 6 times in the mission statement, and they also don't want to have children raised by families anymore. They want them raised by quote-unquote villages. This is the type of stuff that Americans need to hear. It takes people like you and I to keep putting these facts out to folks. And I do think that as Americans, we've got to vote for people that are on our side. And I think this election, it's really important, whether it's your representative, your senator, or who you vote for president. Does this person that we're voting for, do they really care about America?
I have said this on my program 1,000 times. I'm going to say it again right now. I miss and yearn for the days of the Saturday Evening Post covers on the magazine showing mom and dad and the brother and sister going to church on Sunday morning. I miss mom and dad and the family having Thanksgiving dinner together. I miss the covers showing the family going to a park, driving somewhere to visit friends. We've lost that part of America. We've lost God in our lives, and I don't know how we're going to get it back.
Well, I don't think we've completely lost God, and I think what you're talking about is family values, and there is a definite push in this country to do two things, by a minority, by the way, and unfortunately they have too loud of a voice and they're listened to by too many people. There's a push to push God away and push Jesus away, and then the second is to disintegrate the family. And, you know, for instance, the number of single-parent families now is at an all-time high, and particularly in some of our more diverse racial groups, it can be as low as 22% of homes don't have a father in it. And I think those values that you're talking about, that's what we need as leaders, and we got to require that from our leaders. We need families. And George Washington once said, without God, any country is lost. And he said that over 250 years ago.
You know, recently, I want to get your take on what the Supreme Court had a vote 5-4, and it was basically a slap in the face to the amendment that says they shall not regulate churches or the freedom of religion. Well, they did when they said that with the coronavirus, governors and states could close down churches. What was your thought when you heard that ruling from the Supreme Court?
I was outraged then. So here's the irony here, and I'm glad that some people have pushed back in North Carolina recently. The Supreme Court of North Carolina told the governor to back off. But imagine this, Zeb, that you could not go to church, but you could go to a liquor store.
Yeah.
And dear God help me, I don't know the difference. I know the difference between a liquor store and a church, but I don't know why I can go into a liquor store but I can't go into a church. The other thing, you think about these protests that they've had. You can't go to church, but you can get 100,000 kids running around Seattle, starting fires and things like that. What's better for our country? Is it to have protests and people going to liquor stores, or are we better off going to churches? And, that's why one of the things I'm proud of the folks in North Carolina, they took the governor to court and they won. And I think it's unfortunate we have to do that. But we all, as citizens, have to get outraged like this.
But there's the point right there, Dr. Hartman, the naivete or the turning away from the problem and burying our heads in the sand. We're not addressing the problem. We're not taking care of the problems. And this is what scares me.
Yeah, and it scares me as well. But I do have faith in our Lord Jesus Christ. He's been through a lot over 2,000 years. And we will get through this as well. But it is time, and I even find that within myself, becoming more aggressive. It is time for us all to say this is illogical and it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense that you're protesting violence and you're throwing TNT at a federal building. We're being hustled, and we're being hustled by a very specific group of people. And they're threatening the American fabric. And I think it's time for all of us Americans to wake up, make sure we're letting our elected officials know this, and make sure that we're expressing our outrage, politely, of course, but expressing it.
Absolutely. We have a caller with a comment or a question. Go ahead, caller. Quickly, you're on the air, please.
Yes, since they won't let you go to church, but the abortion clinics have been open, Planned Parenthood, and I don't probably think that they've probably been too worried about whether or not anybody was wearing a mask or whether or not there was social distancing. But we've been killing babies, at the same rate, if not more. And we were so concerned about human life, but we don't care about that at all. I'll hang up.
Respond to the caller, please, Doctor.
Yeah, this is a very important issue with me. Human life starts when God starts it,
right.
Not when we decide it starts. And that you can have all these definitions you want, but you go to the Bible, there's verse after verse. When I was knit in my mother's womb,
yes,
that's when we exist. And I'll push back on anybody. And this is what he called abortion. It's really murder. And I think many people in this country aren't looking at it like that. So, for instance, Zeb, let me ask you a question. If you were in a coma and you knew you were going to be in a coma for 9 months, would it be okay to remove the plugs from you and let you die? No. It's no different in that regard for fetus. There is no, they have all these fancy measurements. It happens at the point of conception, and that is when God arranged it. The other thing, too, what the gentleman was bringing up about having abortion clinics and not having churches open, people can go to church. You can do the exact same thing that you're doing in retail stores. Allow these people to go to church, have a mask, and most of these ministers can figure out social distancing.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't see this necessarily as just an accident. I do think keeping our churches closed is being done to kind of de-religious our country.
I agree, totally. Dr. Hartman, you mentioned the word kids a few moments ago, and I want to elaborate on that a little bit. Most of the rioters, mob, looters, etc., are people 25 years of age and much less. As a matter of fact, sadly, many have been in the 10, 11, and 12, and 13 age bracket. So that leads me to think that there's not much of a family life. There's not much of a response from the schools in teaching to be better citizens. How are we going to revamp our society from our kindergarten through our university level so that there's more pride and respect in this country, America?
Well, the kids are being taught this. And, we as parents and as adults, we haven't pushed back on it hard enough. And we need to do that more with the principals and the school departments. And one of the things that's being taught in school is this thing called white privilege. I don't remember, Zeb, when I was working as a CFO for a Fortune 500 company at 4:30 in the morning, that there was anybody else on the road with me. The reason why I became a CFO wasn't because I was white. It was because I was able to work harder than the next guy. And that's a big misconception. For instance, the city of Seattle gathered up all their white employees recently and told them that they were all racist and they had to learn how to talk differently. To me, that's racism. To take any single group and brand them as being racist is a racist statement. There are many terrific black people in this country, and they're no different than white people. And when somebody says to me, Black Lives Matter, and I reply back, all lives matter.
Right.
And then I get yelled at, that's a racist comment. Because all lives matter includes blacks, but it also includes the disabled. It also includes the Jewish folks that live in our country. It also includes the Southeast Asians who don't have an easy time. It also includes Latinos that don't have an easy time. All lives matter, and that's what Jesus told us.
Okay, that leads me right into asking about your books, Jesus and Company, and of course the other book, Your Faith Has Made You Well. Give us kind of a real quick thumbnail sketch as to the gist of both books.
Well, Jesus and Company, many times that I hear that business and Jesus don't mix, and it couldn't be further from the truth. 90% of the people I met in my business career were good people, and they were Christians, and they did do a good job. And yeah, you're right, there's some news stories about some people that took advantage of people, but for the most part, the people you meet day to day in your life are good people, and they're good Christians, and Jesus, and following Jesus, makes you a better business person. So that's the point of that book. The second book is Your Faith Has Made You Well. I see too often that people pray when they're in trouble. And the point of the book is to have faith, both in the good times and the bad times, and not to make Jesus a genie in our lives, but to make Jesus part of 100% of our lives. And that's the point of the book, is that whenever you are not doing well, have faith in Jesus. But also, when you are doing well, don't forget to thank Jesus.
That is such interesting, and it's so simplistic, but yet it's so true. And on one of the information sheets that you sent me about the story about Julian Edelman, etc., the headline just absolutely set me back and made me really think. If you love your enemies, you will soon run out of enemies. Elaborate on that a little bit, please.
Yeah, I love that saying. By the way, Zeb, I have to tell you where that came from. That's not my original quote. I have a number of followers on Twitter and Facebook, and one of the guys wrote to me on Twitter, and that was his quote, if you love your enemies, pretty soon you'll run out of enemies. And I think that's an important concept for everybody to think. Too often, I think, it's too easy for us to curse the darkness. And I think what this gentleman's saying is we should all be lighting candles and not cursing the darkness. And we should all understand, and I truly believe this from working for 35 years in the business world, 95% of the people that walk this earth get up in the morning and want to be a good person. And I think when we deal with people with that knowledge, even if they irritate us, if we keep remembering that they're good people, pretty soon we won't have any enemies. And that's the point, I think, of that message.
Absolutely. Dr. Hartman, before I let you go, tell my audience, please, both books, Jesus and Company and Your Faith Has Made You Well, where can they be obtained?
On my website, which is www.brucelhartman.com, but also it's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, all the major bookstores as well.
I want to tell you that you are one of my favorite people to visit with on this program. You're a straight shooter. I appreciate it, and I hope you'll consent to coming back in the near future.
Anytime, Zeb. I love your thoughts, and I learn a lot every time I talk to you.
Well, the same right back at you, sir. Thank you very much. Dr. Bruce Hartman, thank you for being on the show. God bless.
and God bless you as well.
Thank you. Very, very interesting and informative individual, Dr. Bruce Hartman, and I urge everybody to get those books. First of all, Jesus and Company and Your Faith Has Made You Well. Dr. Bruce Hartman on the program this morning. What have I got to tell you about? Well, Lee's Furniture, Floors, and more with a great big, really huge, sensational flooring event. Now, I've been telling you about this, and you better check it out. You can carpet your entire home and really save money. They've got 3 different price categories, 3 different varieties of carpet, the standard carpet, the better carpet, or the premium carpet, and you can save money and carpet your entire home. Now, listen to this. You can do the same with the luxury vinyl. Same thing. Standard luxury vinyl, better luxury vinyl, and the premium luxury vinyl, all at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. You better check it out today. Get in there, talk to Jeff and the crew. They can and they will help you. Located at 459 Overland in Burley, all your furniture, all the ways to beautify and comfortize your home at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. You stop in and see those good folks today. One other real quick note, and I mentioned this earlier this morning, and it's really, really true. Leland Snyder says, hey, I know how to keep you cool. Be cool. Don't get hot and sweaty. They've got the Porta-Cool swamp coolers on wheels. You can wheel those big dudes around and keep everybody cool and just absolutely comfy. And they've also got all the big shop fans over at Snyder's Surplus, 116 South, 200 West of Rupert. You get a hold of them today. The telephone number to call, 438-5486. Don't forget, you can be cool, not sweaty and sticky. Check out the Porta-Cool swamp coolers and the shop fans from Snyder's Surplus in Rupert. Right now, we're going to send this over to our main studio for a break at the bottom of the hour. We'll be back with Dr. Gerard Lamero in just a few minutes.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Of all the guests that I have on every week, every day, every month, this man always is welcome on my program whenever it fits his schedule. He is an author, a political analyst, and an expert on what's going on in politics today, and an excellent author of the latest book, Real World Socialism. I say good morning to my dear friend, Dr. Gerard Lamero. Sir, good morning to you.
Well, good morning to you, Zeb. I hope you're doing great.
I am, but I wanted to have you back on the air, and I'm going to ask my engineer to kind of guard the feedback just a little bit on our call. He might have to turn it up and down a little bit. Some lines are good, some lines are bad. I am really, really concerned this morning, Doctor, as to the status of our United States of America. The coronavirus, the negativity, the sheltering in place, if you would, people going out of business, families just absolutely hurting for economic well-being, and the Democrats not acknowledging that there are mobs and there's riots going on and there's looting and burning. Wow. With all this, it's hard to keep positive, isn't it?
Yes, I think if you just strictly look at the news headlines, you probably get sick to your stomach. It's that bad. But let me tell you, I take a different perspective. I look at the long range. I look at the trends. I look at the election forecasts. And what we see happening is unprecedented in our history, but I think we're going to overcome it. We have a Democratic Party that went from liberal to progressive, and progressive means progressing towards socialism, to where now they're just outright socialists, Marxists, and communists. And they'll admit it to you. There's nothing surprising these days. They'll say it. So we have one party that wants to bring down the American system. We have the other party, the Republicans. They're not perfect, but they at least believe in the Constitution, most of them. And what we have, the situation is the Democrats, to help get Donald Trump out of office, they weren't able to do it in a Russian hoax, the Ukrainian impeachment, or anything else. They've fixed on two different things. Allow anarchy and lawlessness to go on in our cities, and then try to keep the country locked down for a virus that's not as bad as they try to say it. And when the president gets some doctors together and they do a news conference and give good news about how this hydrochloroquine along with the Z-Pack medicine is enough to get people cured if it's taken early enough, the Democrats don't even want that. So you have the social media pulling the good news about how to get out of this virus problem off the air. Why? Because they don't want Trump to win. And bad news for America is good news for the Democrats, and that is a sorry state, I'm sorry to say, but I do think it's causing a tremendous backlash, and I think there's going to be a tremendous outpouring of people who are just plain going to vote against Democrats because they're no longer the party that supports the Constitution.
But let me ask you this, Doctor, with all your far and wide-ranging education on what we're talking about, much more so than me, when you deluge the public every single day with negativity, and they only have certain sources of news, many of which don't have cable, and they can't discern what's right and wrong and what's true and what's false, don't you think that they're being force-fed a negativity that they're going to turn against the current administration and blame them for everything?
Well, they would, except for two reasons. First reason is that they know how biased the media is. They know how the media is out to get the president. They'll tell you that if you sit down and talk to them over a cup of coffee. They'll tell you that's one thing. They don't believe the mainstream media. The second reason is they listen to talk radio, shows like yourself, shows like Rush Limbaugh, shows like Sean Hannity, Mark Levin, and others, and they understand their information truly from those sources, and those sources are telling them the truth.
You know,
so that's the two reasons why the message is still getting out and why they are not supporting the Democrats. The Democrats are losing support as we talk. As we're talking, I got on the radio with you a few minutes ago. Since we've been on the radio, the Democrats have probably lost dozens of voters because they're losing them every minute.
What about the destruction, the absolute degradation of the rule of law in this country and respect for law and order in our police? It just seems like it's being chiseled and knocked apart every day by the left, and nobody seems to really care.
Well, a lot of people do care. They're not vocal. They're people in inner cities. We've heard poor people say, I need my police force. I don't want them to close it down. I'm afraid to go to bed at night. I'm afraid for my kids to go outside because they might get shot in some of the cities. No, they know it. They know it. And it's happening, and the Democrats are allowing it to happen because they hope the chaos will hurt the president and get rid of him. And it's a terrible thing to destroy your country in order to get power, but some people, power goes to their head. I think the Democratic Party has gone one step too far. That's part of the reason, and it's part of my prediction for a long time, that this party is going to end. Parties do not have to live forever. The Whig Party was very successful in the past. It's gone. The Know-Nothings are gone. Lots of parties came and went, and this party has had its better days, and right now it's in a dismal situation, seeking, if you will, the ruin of this country. They want socialism, they want communism, they want Marxism, they don't want our Constitution, they don't want freedom for Americans, and that is the wrong message, and they are going to be turned out of office in droves.
You know, that leads me perfectly into your new book, Real World Socialism, because I refer to your book in many, many instances on my program. Chapter 4 of your book, the headline of the chapter is, What Caused the Sudden Rise of Interest in Socialism in America in the 21st Century? And I'd like you to elaborate on that a little bit. What did cause all of a sudden this interest in socialism over capitalism that has made this country great?
Well, different factors. The influence of Joseph Stalin, believe it or not. The communist dictator in Russia, he wanted to sell communism around the world, and he thought he could do that by infiltrating movies. and he had his Communist Party in the USA, CPUSA, Communist Party USA, infiltrate Hollywood. They did a lot to change the nature of the films, to get kind of a pro-socialist message there. They went into the schools, influencing the professors. They did quite well. A lot of Marxist professors are teaching our kids. And, of course, the Marxist professors who taught the kids, they also taught the teachers. And those kids became our teachers, and now they're teaching K through 12, a lot of times socialist, Marxist ideas. So they infiltrated that. They infiltrated the media. And you look at that combination, they've done a lot of damage, and a lot of our younger generation don't know the difference between freedom and socialism. That's why I wrote the book. I hope anybody in the audience who has kids out there who are dealing with communist, Marxist, socialist professors or teachers will give the kids the book to read so they can see the other side of the story, because we've got to teach our kids, we've got to teach the next generation that they don't want socialism. They don't want to live in a country that's filled with poverty like Venezuela. Venezuela got to elect a socialist, a Democrat socialist called Hugo Chavez, and that country went down the tube so quickly you wouldn't believe it.
You know, Dr. Lamero, yesterday I spent the lion's share of my afternoon watching and being disgusted with the Democratic Party and their bullying tactics and their cover-up tactics of trying to let Attorney General Barr say one or two words in a row at that so-called hearing. What were your thoughts about how disgusting that event was?
Just sickening. These people are so dishonest, so immoral, that it's hard to believe. It's hard to believe that any party, any group of politicians who are Americans. I mean, these people didn't grow up in Russia or China or North Korea or Cuba. These are Americans could turn this immoral, this dishonest, and this anti-American. They're anti-American.
You know, when I listened to some of the responses, especially from the Washington congresswoman, a black woman, I think her last name was Avapel, and she'd ask Attorney General Barr a question, and then she would interrupt him and say, no, you can't answer that question because I want my time back. I want to reclaim my time. And they did this time after time, person after person. What good at all was Attorney General Barr at that hearing? I mean, what good did it do?
Well, it showed the American people how off the reservation, so to speak, how far off the Democratic Party is, how far they will stoop, how low they will go to try to control this country, not even to let people speak. That's not a hearing. They're just playing a soliloquy. They're just talking. It's a talk fest. They're not allowing the other people to talk. It's ridiculous, utterly ridiculous.
Let me ask you about free speech. And you and I have talked about this many times in the past on past programs. But after I watched the video of the doctors congregating around a microphone and talking about the coronavirus and talking about the medications, etc., and then knowing that that was taken off YouTube, the Democrats were outraged that it was played, and then they also canceled the Twitter account of Donald Trump Jr. for the same reason. The media is so much in control. What are your thoughts about how are we going to change and put it back in a fairness situation?
Well, there are a couple of ways that are going to have to be. Obviously, we'd love to see more competition, but these things are essentially, Google and Facebook are essentially monopolies. And you know, when you go to Verizon or AT&T or any of the phone companies and you want a cell phone, they don't say, are you a Democrat? Are you a Republican? If you're a Republican, we're not going to give you a phone. You can't use our utility. You go to the electric company, they don't say, are you a Republican? You're not getting electricity. Well, the same way as any other utility, which is essentially monopolies in their areas, do not have the right to turn people off based on their politics. The same thing happens with Facebook, Google, any of those people. They should not have the right to censor people who they happen to disagree with. since they have the control of a monopoly. So I think it's going to be legislation. I think when we have a Republican-conservative House, Republican-conservative Senate, and a Republican president next January, I think that they'll take legislation that'll take care of this total bias and unfairness that's going on. This is just plain outright censorship, just like they do in China or Russia. They just censor stuff here. Now it's happened with Google and Facebook and Twitter. If you don't agree with them, they don't have any interest in letting you use their software.
Absolutely. Doctor, before I wrap up the segment this morning, I want to ask you about two very insidious and very dangerous organizations that I think have duped the American public. Number one, Antifa, and number two, Black Lives Matter. And the kids, young kids are getting so heavily involved, especially like with Black Lives Matter, thinking that they're doing something to really help mankind, when in essence, they're supporting a Marxist and communist group. What are your thoughts?
You're right. They are. I mean, if you listen to elitists, all the kids have to do is Google them. They'll find out the truth, because these people are totally open about it. They say we're Marxist trained. We were trained with people who believe in Marxism, and we are a Marxist organization. We want to change America. We want to change the way America is run. We don't like the way it has been run. We don't like the Constitution. They'll be honest with you. And the young folks, you just have to tell them, hey, look, who are you supporting? You know, they always do this in socialism. I've studied socialism around the world. They go in, they try to find some fault with the system, and they exploit it. And they try to say they're on the right side. But then it turns out they're not. These Black Lives Matter people, you look at them now, the rioters, the anarchists, a lot of them are white, extreme leftists, and they're not black. And a lot of times they even injure black people who disagree with them. They're not into Black Lives Matter. That's strictly just a PR move to say, like, they're so wonderful and they're for equality. But in reality, all they're for is Marxism and taking away your freedom and your right to talk, because they're also, you mentioned freedom of speech, they are out to turn anybody off who disagrees with them. That's called communism. That's called socialism, when people don't have the freedom of speech.
Dr. Lamero, every time I have you on the program, we talk about predictions and what you think about the upcoming November elections, etc. I'm really concerned about the value of our elections, the integrity of our elections, and a big push to have mail-in ballots and all the early voting and all this. I'm an advocate of the day of the voting is the day of the voting, and you go to the polls and you cast your vote. I think it's got too spread out and it's not controllable. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think it's done on purpose. I think they don't want voter ID. Voter ID is in 100 countries around the world that have elections. We should have voter ID like any other country. You need an ID to check a book out of a library. You need an ID to buy alcohol in most places. You should have an ID to vote. That's one thing. The mail-in vote, if you're sick, you have a reason to be out of the country, out of the state, and you can't vote, that's a decent reason for absentee, and you manage it very carefully, and you watch who gets an absentee ballot. But this idea of sending ballots out willy-nilly, like in California, I think they have millions of people on the rolls that they've never purged, people that have moved out of California because they can't stand the high taxes. And yet they're still on the rolls, and they send out ballots. They want to send out ballots to all sorts of people, maybe some that are in jail, and then what happens is their neighbors or other people can go around and pick up the ballots and bring them in, fill them out any way they want. No, there's too much opportunity for fraud. We cannot allow that to happen. It should be like you say, you go to a poll, you vote on election day, the handful of people that have to be, they're homesick or in the hospital or other good reasons, they should get an absentee ballot, and those ballots should be managed very carefully and strictly so that no one votes who's not entitled to vote.
Absolutely. One final thought, with all the negativity going on, and seems like every day there's a heaping on, if you will, of more negative instead of positive. What are your thoughts? Are you still gung-ho that President Trump will be reelected?
Yes, I believe he's going to be reelected by a historic turnout, a high turnout for people that are fed up with the left, fed up with the Democratic Party. And I also think that what they think is going to hurt him is actually helping him. I think they're losing people left and right because Americans believe in free speech. They believe in the right to keep and bear arms. They believe in the constitutional rights we've all taken for granted and we all love having. And I think that when these people do what they're doing, anarchy in the streets, against the police force, trying to defund them, all those things are playing against them. They don't realize that they are so sick, they are so far away from the American people and the American voter that they are going to lose big time. I think this is going to be a historic election. I think the media is going to be in tears the next day.
I'm looking forward to the teardrops on the screen. Dr. Lamero is a dear friend of this program, and I urge my listeners to check out his latest book, Real World Socialism. Dr. Gerard Lamero, you're always welcome here. Stay well, my dear friend. Take care, and please come back soon.
Oh, I plan to. I look forward to it. You have a great day, a great week.
Thank you. Dr. Gerard Lamero, always welcome on this program. Thank you very much. Right now it's time for the weather, but before we go to the weather, I want to remind you about Edith's Cafe. Oh, what great eating for you, your family, your friends and neighbors. Everybody get on over to 144 East Highway 81 in Burley, Edith's Cafe. Now, let me tell you when they're open. They're open Tuesday through Thursday, 11 to 8, and then Friday and Saturday, 11 to 9. Now, I'm talking everything from delicious sandwiches all the way up to the big steak dinners and all the different choice goodies in between. You know, I mean, they've got fantastic sandwiches, steak. They've got dinner specials every day, and they do catering, too. This is a great place to go. This is a great place to eat. Edith's Cafe, 144 East Highway 81 in Burley. You stop in and see those good folks today. Want to also mention to you that it's time to knock the microphone over. Woo, that was close. We're going to go to the weather forecast right now, and our weather brought to you by Don Scarrow and the crew at Scarrow's Meats. Oh, boy, you talk about all the delicious meats, maybe for your family picnic or your company reunion, whatever the case might be. You be sure and check it out by getting a hold of Scarrow's Meats at 331 North Road, Jerome. Now, here's what I would do. I'd go to the website, scarrowsmeats.com, and you can check out all the delicious meats that are available for you, and they've got them all. I mean, all the hams, all the pork products, all the pork chops, all the pork ribs. They've got all the different flavors of bacon. They got the tri-tip. They've got the bratwurst. Stop right there. I love brats. All of this and more at Scarrow's Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. The number to call, 324-7657. Right now, we're going to have Gina with the weather.
Warming temperatures, and for this weekend, we are going to be in a heat advisory. Here's a look at your weather forecast. We are expecting mostly sunny skies for today, high of 91 with an overnight low of 59. By tomorrow, expecting a high of 96 under sunny skies with an overnight low of 60 by Friday. We are expecting a high of 98. We're going to be in a heat advisory for that day with an overnight low of 60. Then by Saturday, looks like sunny skies and a high of 96. Pretty much the same for Sunday. That's a look at your weather for Deborah.
Thank you very much. There we got her on. And Scarrow's Meats, of course, our sponsor of this weather forecast for this hour. Don and the crew, I'm telling you what, I got to get him on the program, and he can come over here and tell us all about their service to you with delicious meats from Scarrow's Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. The number to call, 324-7657. They are changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time. Don't forget, Scarrow's Meats. Wow. Tomorrow, we're going to be talking a little bit in the first hour about those mysterious seeds that maybe some of you might have received from China. And that's kind of spooky. And I just want to say, don't open them up. Call the Department of Agriculture, like it says in the story, and keep the label and the packaging. Don't just throw them away. Hopefully, they're going to find out what kind of maybe bad seeds they are, because they have been, many Idahoans have been receiving mysterious seeds from China, and the state's Department of Agriculture is more than worried, and they should be. So please, if you do receive something from China, first of all, that should make you scared right there, and then get a hold of the Department of Agriculture. Want to remind you, too, about our friends, and they are your friends, at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. They are busy every single day making sure that you drive safely. If you're leaving on a road trip, they want to make sure you have fun. They want to make sure you get home safely. They have the best of tires for you. They've got great tires like the Road Control NW3. They've got the Terramax HT all-season tire, and they've got the Backcountry SQ4. They've got them all season tread, smooth, quiet ride, and they've got all the sizes to fit your cars, pickups, SUVs, horse trailers, boat trailers, you name it. And along with that, the best in brake service before you leave town, front end alignment, shocks and struts, and batteries. You stop in any one of the 7 locations, and I guarantee you they're going to take care of you. James and Buell, Dan on Pole Line in Twin Falls, Lane and Rupert, Mike and Jerome, Dave on Blue Lakes in Twin Falls, along with the Twist family in Paul, and Trent on Overland in Burley. They are committed to serving you, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Well, we got a big day tomorrow. On Thursday, we've got some really good segments. Cache County School Days, the Mini-Cache Chamber of Commerce, and let's see, we're going to hopefully have a gentleman by the name of, I don't have it right in front of me. I'm sorry about that. I think we've got Dr. Mike Bustler, and of course, he is one of the world's greatest economists. He's going to be on. Alex McFarland's going to be on. Wow, we've got a full stable of great guests tomorrow on Zeb at the Ranch. We always start the program at 8:06, go to 11 o'clock, and we say the way things were are the way things ought to be, and the 4 words that mean the most to us: in God we trust. Have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow morning at 8:06.